What is good? What is good for the culture family? Hope you guys are having a great start to your day. We had another great trading day yesterday, and we're going to talk about some of the things that we could see for today going into the markets and just a little bit of a recap of what we saw yesterday for gold. We'll actually take a look here at the NQ, the YM, and the S&P 500 as well, because all key levels that have been mentioned this week have been targeted and the areas to look out for. So let's start with what we've seen happen for yesterday. Yesterday in our session, you can see price had created this high. We pushed down, created this low. We retested up here in these highs. Now, keep in mind, price on this lower time frame has been creating lower lows and lower highs. Now, and initially for yesterday during our session, we wanted to see a potential, because we had a break of a key high here. We wanted to see if we could see this push to the upside to break through this high for price to continue pushing bullish. But we didn't in fact see that, and instead we rejected off of this zone here. And then on our lower time frame, I told the members on our VIP, I said, hey, I'm going to look to take sales only if we get some volume to the downside. So when we dial down to our, let's dial down to our 1 minute time frame here, you can kind of see we had, and we were just reading this thing like a book, right? So price had pushed to the downside. We got some volume with this candle here. I was like, okay, that's a good indication that price is going to go ahead and move to the downside. So then once we got our 5 minute candle close, you can see we had pushed back up the 5 minute candle close. We scale in every single trade on the first 1 minute candle that closes in that 5 minute candle close. So what do I mean by that? If we take a look at our 5 minute time frame, you can see this 5 minute candle closes as a bearish candle. We scale into the first 1 minute following that 5 minute bearish candle close. Now all we needed to see was a break through the low here, right? So we wanted to see a break through this low. We knew that we could see a move to the downside. I went ahead and took off. I took it at 3 contracts, took 1 contract off right there, took the second contract off up here or down here. Absolutely milked that trade. It was a great trade, right? So what did we see happen last night? I actually want to pull up what I sent out to the VIP members last night, because each night I send out a daily recap of what we can expect in the markets, and these are very, very crucial in terms of growth perspective. So let me pull this up here for you guys. Let me pull it up. Not that one. This one. Where is it at? I literally just had this pulled up before stream, and now it doesn't want to act right. Oh. Okay, there we go. That didn't work either. Okay, here we go. All right, so this is what I actually sent out to our VIP members last night for our daily recap. We dialed down to our 1 hour time frame. We definitely know. So key areas to be looking out for. Price did in fact break through these previous lows here, making this area right here at 34.15 our key high. And then we are seeing some rejection right here. We could potentially see a steeper move to the downside. So targeting these two areas, right? So a steeper move to the downside, looking to target that 33.80 level. And then our key high up here at 34.15. These are the two areas that we want to keep an eye out for, and we'll talk more about this tomorrow coming into our session, but definitely just wanted to do a little recap on what we've seen for gold and then what we got for FOMC. We did see an impulse of moves to the downside. We created a new low, confirming that price is still in a bearish market structure and in a bearish trend, right, with that daily candle closing bearish as a weak bearish daily, right? But we're anticipating potentially a our previous daily wick fill for price to move here to the downside. All right. So that's just basically what we've seen. Now, if we go back to it, what we looking at here on the chart, you guys can see that what we seen was that steeper move to the downside, right? We looking at it on the 1 hour time frame. Price had rejected off of this area. We did see that 33.80 levels get broken, which is what we were looking for in terms of a target. Now, what are we anticipating for today? Now, what does that do to our structure? This now becomes our key low, because this is the lowest point that broke through this low, and this now becomes the key high, which because this was the highest point that started for the break of this low, right? So what does that do to our structure? Well, for one, we're in an overall bearish market structure. We're still in a bearish trend. Price is creating lower lows and lower highs. So we're coming into the session with our bearish bias coming in for today, right? So where are we at specifically in the markets? We are at a key area where we could see some type of rejection and flip. You can see this is a sign, this long wick here is a sign of a rejection, similar to what we could be seeing happening here as a sign of rejection off of this demand zone, potentially seeing a steeper move to the downside to take out this 33.63 lows, right? So that's what we're anticipating coming into the markets. As of right now, we are in fact creating lower lows and lower highs. You can see that price was on this smaller time frame creating higher highs and higher lows within this bullish structure, right? Because we created a high, we created a low, created a high, created a low, high, low, high, low, high. And then it pushes through and breaks through these key structural lows. That is an indication that price could potentially flip here. And then, like I said, on that larger time frame, we were seeing the signs of rejection based off of how that wick closed. So if we see a correction and then a continued move to the downside, we'll be looking for our sales, and we'll look to target this 33.63 areas. And just similar to yesterday, if this 33.63 area is in fact broken, we could potentially see some volume on the break and then a likely potential correction, because we have just been kind of ranging off within this lower or within this bearish structure, creating lower lows and lower highs, kind of working off of supply and demand almost every trade, right? And so that's what I'm expecting coming into the markets today for gold, especially this is going to be key, right? Especially if we see this 4-hour candle close bearish. Like if this 4-hour candle close bearish, and this is for all of you who are on this live right now, I want you to key this, right? If this 4-hour candle closes bearish, this is a great sign that we are going to likely fill this wick here, and that price is going to make a steeper move to the downside. Like the lower time frame has already shown signs of flipping and the structure being it. Now, if the larger time frame adds that extra confirmation of this candle closing bearish, it's likely that we see the next 4-hour candle form a bearish candle, and we see this like wick filled to the downside. And this is exactly what I was mentioning yesterday for our trade, and why we were able to catch it with so much volume, waiting for that volume to come into the market, showing us that we have that sell pressure, and then just looking to hold. You can see yesterday's trade, we got out at the lowest point. If we dial down here, we go back and review it. We got out at that lowest point, right? We waited for the volume, the lower time frame to give us our lower time frame shift. Price created a high, created a low, created a high, came down. This is not the low. Broke through our key low. This now becomes the key high. It corrected up. I was like, I'm waiting. And this at this moment when price was right here, it was yesterday when I was telling our team that I'm waiting for price to give us some sell volume. If we get some volume to the downside, I'll look for sales. Then immediately we get this candle to drop to the downside, confirming with our 5-minute time frame that price is in fact bearish. And then we have bearish sell volume. So then we can expect that price can make a steeper move to the downside, and it'll break through this low here. And if it does break through this low, we can expect some volume. And it just so happened that once we broke through this low, we set our stops to break even. Price was creeping up on our 1 to 2, because we generally look for just a solid 1 to 2, but we in fact opened up our take profit yesterday because we realized that, hey, there's areas down here and down here that price could likely grab. Let's go ahead and open up our take profit. We could potentially see some volume, and it was definitely a good session. The guys were all excited. The team ate well, and it's been a great week, right? We've been 3 for 3 on the week in terms of setups and just reading price like a book based off of what the markets is showing us. This is not some made up system. This is not a guessing game. This is very strategic, right? Based on what the larger time frame shows us, and then confirming that with our smaller time frame. That is how the markets work. And if the quicker you can understand this, you'll start to be able to read it and understand like certain things that you'll catch on. Some things just take time, right? You just got to take time. But like this is a sign of exhaustion. So despite us creating lower lows and lower highs, price in fact is going to make a steeper move to the upside. It's not a matter of if, it is a matter of when. So we're just in this slow structure, and that's because we have an impulsive move followed by a correction based move, likely to see another impulsive leg up. And this is the key low, right? Because this is the start that broke for this high. So price pushed up, we broke for this high. It applies on all time frames. We just use it to see shifts on the smaller time frame, but this applies to all time frames. This is how we use our multi-time frame analysis. And even if price comes down to test in this area, I don't think that we'll break this low, right? This is a key area, 33.15, just based on a larger time frame. I'm not saying something for this week, because this week has been, relatively pretty slow in terms of volume, but this is for a larger time frame structure, just understanding where we are. And if you know where we are in each individual wave, from coming down from the daily time frame, how did the daily time frame close? Okay, yesterday's daily candle closed as a bearish candle. What is it likely that we see today? Okay, the lower time frame is rejecting and we're making lower lows and lower highs. The daily time frame closed as a bearish daily candle. Is likely that we see that bearish move to the downside to fill the wick. That's what I told our members last night. It's not because this just is, I'm just doing something crazy. It's just understanding how this market structure works, right? And where price is going based on what the markets is telling us. I'm not telling you anything that the markets isn't showing me, right? So coming into today, looking for a potential steeper move to the downside, unless we get a lower time frame shift. But for those of you in the VIP, you guys will know, because we'll be on our live session and we'll go through it, right? So let's take a look here at another pair. We're going to talk about NQ. And though I don't trade NQ and YM and all of these pairs actively for the past couple of weeks, just because gold's market structure has just been so nice, we do actively break them down every single day, right? So yesterday, key areas that I was looking for coming into the market session. Let me move this tool so I can see what time frame we're looking at. Okay, I told everybody to keep an eye out for certain key areas and things that you want to know about NQ, and kind of why I haven't been trading NQ and ES and YM is because of what we see happen right here. So generally we'll see there's a 70% chance, right, that we have our opening range high and our opening range low get broken. So what do I mean by that? 930, right? It opened up, it took out these lows here, right? This is our opening range low for our 930. Then it came, swept these highs up here, and then we see price finally go back in the direction of the trend. This pattern of having a sweep one way, then getting a sweep in the other direction happens 70% of the time. And it can be harder to trade in terms of a supply and demand aspect, right? This is not going to the type of structure that's going to respect supply and demand more so like how gold will. This is a structure that is really respective off of the lower time frame structure. Where do you see that lower time frame shift? And then being able to capitalize based on the volume in the direction following that shift. But this is something you have to prior know coming into the markets, that hey, there's a 70% chance that we get a spike in one direction and then we flip in the other direction. And as you can see, we then push back down into the direction of the trend. Throughout when we had FOMC, we had another spike up, took liquidity above these highs but didn't break these highs here, and then we've seen this overall move to the downside. This becomes a key high. We'll talk about the structure here. But that's just kind of one thing that a little tidbit that I wanted to mention here, and why why I don't actively just trade this all the time. I do love NQ. NQ has a ton of volume. So in terms of high volume, high risk to reward moves, you'll see it a lot here for NQ. Which is why I like it so much. So let's actually take a look here. Let's start with our daily time frame. Top down analysis. Previous daily candle closed bullish, but what did we close as? We closed as a weak bullish candle because we have all this rejection. So on the smaller time frame, we want to see a lower time frame shift. What do we see happen? We've seen a push to the downside, a correction up, another move to the downside. So that confirms that we are in fact in a bearish wave. Let me remove these drawings here. So we're in this 4-hour bearish channel. Price created a low, corrected. It just broke through this low again. So where are some key areas that we're going to be looking for? And remember, keep in mind, we could see a spike at the 930 open in one direction and then a flip in the other, right? And how I would anticipate it, considering we're already in a bearish market structure, is that we would see a bullish spike and then likely a steeper bearish move to the downside, because the overall larger time frame structure is in fact bearish. We have a ton of bearish volume on this current daily. It's not likely that this current daily flips and closes as a bullish daily candle. It is possible. I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying it's not likely, right? And then our 4-hour time frame confirming that we just created a new low. We created a high. We just broke through that low. If we dial down to the 1-hour time frame, you can see this a little bit better. Lower lows, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, right? We're just looking at basic market structure here. Just wait for that 930, because generally we see a spike at 930. That's why we wait until 930 open to take any trades, because it's not worth it to get spiked out in the direction and then price runs to your overall target. You just let that volume come out, and then worst case scenario, right? Worst case scenario, you scale in on the next 4-hour candle, because if this 4-hour candle closes bearish as it is, what can we potentially expect for the next 4-hour candle? We could see a potential steeper move to the downside, price to form a top wick, and then we look for something like that. And then how we scale in, as simple as day. Well, what does this top wick look like on the lower time frame? On the lower time frame, this top wick is going to look like a corrective structure, and then you will see a bearish candle close, and then you will see another steeper move to the downside, similar to what we've seen right here with this same exact structure. That would be our top wick at the start of the next 4-hour candle. We look for the bearish volume to continue. So you never miss out with waiting for 930. And the perks of it is most of our news comes at 8:30 or 9:30, right? So most of the news that we're going to have in terms of high volume, except for some news events that come out at 10 o'clock. But even still, you're still waiting for the 4-hour candle to close. It comes out right at 10 o'clock. The 4-hour candle will close. You'll see that next 4-hour candle begin to form that, whatever the structure is, right? So very, very crucial and a key important thing. Another thing to know, we don't look to take, and I know I break down all of these structures, but I only look to take one to two trades a day, right? If I take the first trade and it's a winning trade, we're done for the day. We beat the markets. If we take a loss or a break even, I'll look to take another trade, right? Because oftentimes it's something that I did wrong as to the reason why we lost, or a market structure shift where we flip from being bearish to bullish, and then we could just capitalize on the opposite direction. It's not generally what happens, but we do know how to execute based off of one common flaw of the system, or it's not a flaw, but it's just the name of the game, and that is if we do see let's say we were looking to take a sell move. What this continuation to the downside, we get our confirmation, price pushes down, and then we see a larger time frame flip. Then we just look for our buys, and then we'll scale in again, because that confirms that price is moving from a bearish trend to now a bullish trend. So those are the only ways in the stipulations to which we will actually be looking to flip our bias, right? So taking a look here, what are targets to look for, right? That's what we guys want. Targets to look for. Price already created a new low. So whatever the low is that gets created here, I will wait for then a correction to form on this 30-minute or even the 5 and 15-minute time frame. A correction to form, and then a steeper move to the downside to target whatever the low is that gets created. So if price rejects off of this 21,765 levels, and we start to see a correction from here, we can see then a steeper move to the downside. You would just target whatever the low is. We have, whoa, look at this here. We have a gap right here. So for those of you who don't know, gaps oftentimes get filled, right? This is not something that just happens haphazardly. Gaps get filled. So this is another set of confluence that you could look for. You like, oh, we have this gap here to the downside. And what do I mean by gaps get filled? It's likely that we see some type of a steeper move to, even if price rejects off of this low, it'll likely fill this gap, even if it's like a 75% fill, right? We'll see some type of fill of that gap, and I think that's what price is drawing towards. But obviously, we want to wait for our actual confirmations. This is just an added confluence of where price could go. And in terms of a target, we would look for the top of the gap, which would be right here. Why do gaps get created? Is because when price closes for the weekend, the market session can still move even though we can't trade. So the price pushed up higher, and all it would be like if this market would show the data, it would look something like this, right? Price impulsively pushed down, we start to see some exhaustion. Then over the weekend, we seen a move up like this, and then a spike up. And then when we open on Sunday, the market is already at this area. It opens here, you get a correction down, a continued move to the upside. This is why we get these gaps in the markets. It's just that price is moving over the weekends during when the sessions are closed. That's why we get the gaps. So let's take a look here at the ES or YM. Let's see. Let's go to our daily time frame. We're going to go through these real quick because I know I've been sitting here talking for quite some time. You're not audible. Can you hear now? Yeah. Okay, cool. Glad you guys can hear. So now what are we looking for in terms of a targets for the YM? We can see potentially this low get broken here. We have our previous daily close as a bullish daily candle, but it closed with that rejection. And then we know on our lower time frame, if we take a look here, the lower time frame is going to show us that not only did we have a rejection, but we had a lower time frame shift. And so you can see that is indicated by this move here. Price pushed down, it pushed up. This is the key high, never broke the key high, respected the key high, pushed through the key low, creating a new low, right? So this is our lower time frame shift that I'm talking about here. Price pushed up, pushed down, because we're confirming downtrends, right? We pushed down, pushed up, grabbed through these highs, then it swept through this low, flipping it back to being bearish. It's kind of that liquidity grab I was talking about. And you can see what time frame it happens in session. So this happened in session where we push up, we break through these highs, and then we sweep through these lows, and that flips the structure. When we break through the high, it's like, okay, we're bullish. push, but then we get this volume to the downside, and you can anticipate, oh, you know what, it's likely that we're going to go ahead and sweep, and that's that 70% chance that I was telling you guys about. So then we've seen this move to the downside. Where are we looking for in terms of target? Well, we can look for this 4208 target to get hit and possibly broken through. Let's go to our last pair here. ES, same thing. We have a gap here on ES, closer to filling the gap here. Definitely looking for that target of a 5,988 area for now, a potential continuation to the downside. So I hope you guys are able to get some type of value out of this this session, because it's just important to me, and I like to show up with you guys, and I like to get on here, break down the charts, what it is that we're looking for coming into the session, so that even if you're not in our VIP, you can come into the markets equipped and ready to execute. So yeah, so I will see you guys all in tomorrow's session. If you want to join us for our live VIP session today, you can click the link down in the description to join, and I will see you guys tomorrow for our pre-market prep.